I was restocking the drink cooler when I noticed the time. The clock above the cigarette rack had just crept past midnight. That hour always carried a strange stillness. The store wasn't just empty, it felt paused, like the world outside had forgotten this small island of fluorescent light. Normally, I didn't mind it. Late nights were quiet, predictable. Then the bell rang. I jolted hard enough to smash my elbow against the cooler door. Pain shot up my arm as I turned toward the entrance. A man stood just inside the doorway. At first, there was nothing remarkable about him. Average height, dark hair, clothes worn thin like they'd been washed too many times. But something about his face tugged at my memory. Not enough to recognize him, just enough to feel uneasy. Like seeing a stranger who somehow knows your name. He wandered the aisles aimlessly, picked up a pack of gum, put it back. His eyes kept drifting toward the counter. Toward me. Need help finding anything? I asked, forcing my voice to sound relaxed, while wiping my hands on my apron. He approached slowly. Yeah, he said. My car won't start. Acting strange. Thought maybe you could take a look, or help me jump it. I glanced through the front windows. His car sat at the far edge of the parking lot, half swallowed by darkness. The nearest street light flickered like it was seconds from dying. Store policy surfaced in my mind. Never leave the building alone at night, but rules always feel distant until you need them. Do you have jumper cables? I asked. No, he replied quickly, too smoothly. But maybe you'd know what's wrong if you just looked. The quiet inside the store suddenly felt louder, thicker. I hesitated. All right, I said finally. Give me a minute. I grabbed my jacket, locked the register, and told myself I'd be back in less than 5 minutes. The air outside was cold and unnaturally still. No wind, no passing cars. As we walked toward the lot, he stayed closer than necessary. I slowed without meaning to. So what exactly is it doing? I asked. Right here, he said, gesturing toward the driver's side. That's when everything changed. His hand clamped around my wrist with crushing force. In the same motion, a knife appeared. The blade caught the faint street light, long and unmistakably real. Get in, he hissed. My mind lagged behind my body. What? No, let go. I twisted, but he yanked my arm painfully. Get in the car, he said, voice flat now, empty. Or I cut you right here. I looked back at the store. The glass doors, the glowing lights. So close, it hurt. He shoved me into the passenger seat and slammed the door. The locks clicked down before I could scream. He was in the driver's seat an instant later. The engine roared to life. Please, I begged. I have family. I won't say anything. Just let me go. Quiet, he snapped. We're not going far. The road blurred as he drove faster than necessary, then turned off onto a dirt track that rattled my teeth. Ahead, a gravel pit opened like a wound in the earth, wide and completely dark. He stopped deep inside it. He yanked me from the car and pressed a knife into my back. Walk. My legs barely worked. Tears streamed down my face as I stumbled forward. Why? I asked. Why me? You were there, he said, bored. I fought when I could, but he was stronger. Pain became constant, overwhelming, drowning out everything else. When I screamed, the sound vanished into the open pit, swallowed whole. When he finally stepped back, I felt empty. He stood over me, breathing hard, the knife still in his hand. This ends now, he muttered. The pain that followed was blinding white hot. I lost count of how many times. Only that warmth poured down my side and my vision began to fade. He dragged me a short distance and shoved dirt and gravel over me. The weight crushed my chest, filled my mouth and nose. I forced myself to go limp. Don't move. Don't breathe. Don't exist. At last, I heard his footsteps retreat. A car door slammed. The engine started. Gravel crunched, then faded into silence. I counted slowly in my head until I was sure he was gone. Then I moved. Every motion sent agony tearing through me. But panic gave me strength I didn't know I had. Dirt shifted. Air rushed in. I clawed my way free and collapsed, coughing, blood slick on my hands. In the distance, I saw a house. Just a shape at first. Then windows glowing warm yellow. I crawled. My knees burned raw. My hands shook. Time stretched and warped. But eventually, I reached the porch. I raised my fist and knocked. Barely. Help, I whispered. Please. The door flew open. A woman gasped, clapping a hand over her mouth. "Oh my God, Harry," she screamed. "Call Navi. Menos um. They pulled me inside, pressing towels to my wounds, speaking urgently. Sirens came fast. Red and blue lights washed over the walls. Then the hospital. Bright lights, darkness. I woke days later, stitched together, aching, but alive. The police came. I told them everything I could remember. His face still haunted me, familiar in a way I couldn't place. My sister solved it. He had gone to high school with us. His name was Kenneth Morgan. Before they even found him, he turned himself in. Told police he thought he'd killed someone. He confessed. Kidnapping, assault, attempted murder, life in prison. That night rewrote my world. I never returned to that store. Never trusted quiet the same way again. Eventually, I wrote a book not to relive it, but to survive it. To remind others that even when everything is taken from you, breath by breath, survival is still possible. I worked a graveyard shift at a small corner store wedged into a neighborhood so quiet it felt forgotten. Nothing ever really happened there. Most customers came in half asleep, buying milk, cigarettes, or snacks they didn't want to admit craving at 3 or 4 in the morning. The shelves were always faced, the coolers humming softly, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like tired insects. Most nights followed the same pattern. A few quick transactions, long stretches of silence, and the steady ticking of the clock behind the counter. I usually liked the quiet. It felt safe in a predictable way. There was one regular who came in often, always late. He looked to be in his early 50s, hair unkempt, clothes worn thin, as if he'd owned them for decades. He bought the same things every time: beer, sometimes cigarettes. He never caused trouble, never spoke more than necessary. I smiled at him the way I smiled at everyone. He never smiled back. Sometimes his eyes lingered on me longer than normal, but I told myself I was imagining it. Lots of people looked strange at that hour. Everyone was tired. Everyone was worn down. That night started like any other. Just before 4 in the morning, a police officer stopped by for coffee. She leaned against the counter while I rang her up, asking how the shift was going. "Quiet as always," I said. She smiled. "That's how we like it. Stay safe." I watched her cruiser pull away, red and blue lights briefly washing over the windows, before the street slipped back into darkness. The quiet returned, heavier than before. Not long after, the bell above the door rang. It was the regular. He didn't look at me this time. He went straight to the cooler, grabbed a pack of beer, and set it on the counter. I rang it up automatically. "That'll be $6. He handed me the cash. I waited for him to turn and leave. He didn't. He just stood there, staring. Something about his face had changed. The softness I'd assumed was tiredness was gone. His expression was tight, focused, almost eager. Before I could ask if he needed anything else, his hand came up from his pocket. The knife caught the light for half a second before it was pressed against my neck. Cold, solid, real. "Don't make a sound," he whispered. "Come with me." My thoughts scattered instantly. The panic button under the counter might as well have been a mile away. My body didn't respond. His grip closed around my arm and he dragged me from behind the counter as if I weighed nothing. The door opened. Night air hit my face. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. "Walk," he said. "Don't run." We moved through backyards, through narrow spaces between houses. The grass soaked my shoes with dew. Fences scraped my legs as we climbed over them. Every house was dark. Every window blind was shut. It felt like the world had emptied itself just for us. His apartment wasn't far. An old ground floor unit with the lights already on. He unlocked the door and shoved me inside. The smell hit me. First stale beer, old food, something sour underneath it all. Newspapers covered the floor from wall to wall, crinkling under my feet. He locked the door and turned on a small lamp that barely pushed the shadows back. "Sit," he said, pointing at the couch. I obeyed. My hands shook so badly I had to press them together. He set the knife down, but stayed close to it. "I've seen you," he said casually, like he was talking about the weather. "Always alone at night. I like that." I begged. I promised I wouldn't tell anyone. I said my family would be worried. He shook his head. "You're staying." What followed blurred together. Fear swallowed everything else. My body moved because it had to, not because I chose to. I focused on the lamp, on the peeling paint, on anything except what was happening. I stayed quiet, terrified that any sound would make it worse. When he finally stepped away, I felt hollow, like something essential had been carved out of me. He went to the kitchen and returned with more knives, laying them carefully on the table one by one. "Just in case," he said, smiling. That smile changed everything. Something snapped into focus. I knew, with terrifying clarity, that if I didn't act, I wasn't leaving that apartment alive. When he turned away for another beer, I moved. One knife was close enough. I grabbed it and swung. He reacted fast, catching my wrist. We crashed to the floor, slipping on the newspapers, breathing hard. He hit me once sharp and disorienting, but I didn't let go. I drove the knife into his side. He screamed, the sound raw and shocked. Blood soaked into his shirt. He loosened his grip just long enough for me to kick free and run. The bathroom was right there. I slammed the door, locked it, and shoved a small cabinet against it just as he hit the other side. "You'll pay for this," he shouted, slamming his fists against the door. The bathroom was tiny. I searched frantically and found a pair of scissors and a can of deodorant under the sink. I sat on the floor, scissors clenched in my hand, listening to him pace and curse. Time crawled. My face throbbed. My body burned. I thought about my mom, my sister, the store. Someone had to notice I was gone. Eventually, the apartment went quiet, then sirens distant at first, then closer. A loud crash from the front of the apartment made me flinch. Voices shouted, firm and commanding. Police? There was chaos, heavy footsteps, the sound of someone being forced to the ground. Then, a knock on the bathroom door. "Emily," a voice called. "It's the police. Are you in there?" My legs nearly gave out. "Yes," I said, my voice breaking. "I'm here." They opened the door slowly. An officer wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. Another guided me past the living room, where he lay handcuffed on the floor, blood staining the newspapers. Later, they told me how they found me, my purse still behind the counter, security footage, small details that added up. He went to prison. It took a long time to feel normal again. Some nights, I still hear the bell over the door in my dreams. But I survived, and that mattered more than anything else.